Welcome to the Femdom Journey podcast. I'm Tobias and I want to break the silence about destructive sexual behavior within Femdom and Findom. So this podcast is for you if you are struggling with exactly that. Many men out there feel helpless, confused, insecure, ashamed, and even hopeless about their sexual path. I want to create a safe space to talk about it. And in this podcast, I share my journey and learnings after my own years-long struggle with my sexuality. So the big question is, how do men who struggle with a Femdom and Findom addiction can change and create a healthy, positive, fulfilling sex life and relationships with real intimacy? Let's start this episode. Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of this podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about my story and how my life unfolded with my Femdom and Findom addiction over the years, right from the start until the point where I am right now. And if you haven't already, please check out the very first episode of this podcast, because in it, I talk about who it is for, what you can expect from it, and what I want to create in the long term with this podcast and with you. So please, if you haven't already, do me a favor and listen to the first episode. Maybe even right now, click on stop and go to the first episode, listen to it, come back, or maybe also even after you listened to this episode. Because I think it's a very good thing that you have an overview of what this podcast is about, and you get to know also my intention behind doing this podcast. But anyway, let's dive right into it. I actually never shared my story in such depth with anyone, I guess. So it's quite exciting for me to do this episode. And also while doing notes for this episode, I outlined this episode a little bit, and I have some notes in front of me so that I don't forget anything that I want to share with you. And while I did the notes for this episode, I noticed it was quite the journey that I went through. It was very intense because there were so many emotions involved in it, and it was very intense. There were so many ups and downs. And now that I'm finally free of it and I have the life that I always wanted, it kind of sounds like, in some way, like insane to say it, because all the years I worked through and I worked for this and I fight for this, and now I managed to quit and I managed to overcome it, and I managed to get a girlfriend, and I managed to get my life handled and be a very disciplined and ambitious guy. It's quite intense to talk about it. And while doing the notes, I remembered and I noticed the journey, and I noticed in what kind of fight I was all the time. And because you have to understand that I was so obsessed with overcoming this thing, with overcoming my Femdom and Findom addiction and my fear of intimacy and my shyness and all of the stuff that I went through in the last years. Everything in my life was aligned to this goal. And now that I finally reached this goal and have an awesome life, like in relation or in comparison to where I came from, it's quite intense to actually talk about it. So I kind of feel emotional a little bit right now doing this podcast episode. And yeah, let's see what's coming out of it. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope it is a little bit helpful for you to understand that you are not alone in your journey and you are not alone in your fight. And here's someone who did it and who overcame it. I don't want to brag about it, but like everyone needs some kind of role model, I guess. And back in the days, I never had anyone, and I never saw anyone who overcame it. I just read from guys who failed and failed and failed over the time. And so I think I feel it's my mission to do this podcast. So yeah, let's dive right into it. For context, I'm 26 right now, And I'm in a room right now recording this episode with a lot of reverb actually, so I hope the audio quality isn't the problem here, but I think, yeah, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So let's go back to my childhood and see where it started and where it comes from. And yeah, I hope you enjoy my story here and you can probably relate to a lot of stuff that I will share here. So yeah, let's start with my childhood, because everything started back then in the days. I was very, very young, maybe 10, 11, 12, something around that age. I can remember my first fetish and femdom related fantasies. And because you have to know that I had fetish and femdom related fantasies since the start of my puberty, since the start of my sexuality, since the start of me having sexual fantasies. So basically all my life. And I can remember like the very, very first fantasy, and that's quite intimate actually, but the very first fantasy that I can remember is me having a fantasy with my schoolmates, or with one female schoolmate in my class. Me being an ant, like the animal, the ant, living on her feet, on her socks, and yeah, being this kind of ant together with other ants actually. And it's quite a funny symbolic fantasy in relation to foot fetish, in relation to sock fetish, in relation to femdom, being very small and being that kind of small animal living on the feet of my schoolmate. And this is actually the very, very first fantasy, sexual fantasy that I can remember right now. So basically I had femdom and fetish related fantasies all my life since me being a child. And so I actually know that my passion for being sexually submissive and having a foot fetish and loving femdom and liking femdom, liking being submissive in bed sexually, is completely natural actually. It's not really porn induced. I mean, like, it's probably enhanced. It was probably enhanced by porn usage, massively enhanced. And I also noticed this right now because now with my girlfriend, I really go into my dominant side. I love the dominant side also, being dominant in bed and stuff like that. So I like both. I like femdom and I like maledom, which I discover right now. But my femdom and foot fetish and fetish related fantasies were really enhanced by porn usage, of course, because I used tons of porn. I had massive consumption of it. And but yeah, just for you to know, it is not entirely porn induced. It is also naturally, I have a natural inclination for liking femdom and for liking feet and socks and being submissive sexually in bed and having these fantasies. So they didn't came after the porn usage. They were there beforehand. And I think many of you can relate to this, because I read online that many guys have submissive inclinations right before or before even watching porn, before even getting into this internet addiction. But also many didn't. Many also just used porn and then it escalated towards more extreme versions and femdom and fetish stuff. So yeah, but this is my story. So this is how it started. So I always had like a foot fetish. I always had inclinations for liking femdom since my childhood. And then with the age of 14, I guess, I got my first laptop. And of course, I got into the whole fetish and femdom videos. And it started with like soft foot fetish, I guess even on YouTube, and then on porn sites. And, like foot fetish is mostly related to femdom. So I came across also femdom and more hardcore stuff. And it fascinated me immediately. And I watched ton of videos, and I watched ton of it. And I can remember sitting there every day, every evening after school, and scrolling through the porn sites, scrolling through the internet, reading also erotic stories, not just watching, but also reading a lot of stories and seeing what I can find, new videos, new stories, new stuff. And it was really exciting. It was a really fascinating time for me. So it became a daily habit that I indulged in. And retrospectively, I can say that I used this porn usage and I used this whole femdom and fetish world online for me coping with stress and anxiety, because I was a very, very nervous and full of anxiety child, because I had a lot of social anxiety actually, and I was super nervous in school, super nervous around other people. Sometimes also being around friends put me into a nervous state. It was kind of weird, I couldn't really get a grip on it. I couldn't really understand why actually, but I was really nervous, really shy, really shy. Like in school, I was super quiet and I never like said anything really. And yeah, also my parents split it up, I guess, when I was age 3. So I was kind of, in the middle of it, and it affected me big times. Let's say like that, it affected me big times, and it put me into very awkward, very stressful situations, unpleasant situations, because my parents also didn't handle it very well. And I also had a stepmother who wasn't very supportive. So that was also a situation for me that put me into stress, into a lot of stress, but also the whole social anxiety stuff situation put me into a lot of stress. So this whole porn and online sex and femdom stuff is really a coping mechanism for me for coping with stress and anxiety. So I use also masturbation, of course, right? Masturbation was a big thing for me, and coupled with porn and pictures and images and stories and reading and watching these videos, it was just like a relief from the outer world that is so stressful and so fear-inducing and so scary for me. That was actually the cause for me to go into this addiction. But not only porn and reading stories, but also writing with women online who were interested into the whole femdom world. And I can remember writing with a woman that was slightly a higher age than me, I guess like 23, 27, something around that, I don't really know. And I was like 16, 17. And we wrote a lot. We wrote a lot via email, and she gave me exercises, and I sent back pictures of it. And we wrote and we discussed a lot of stuff, and it was like a good relationship actually. If you can talk of a relationship with of two people writing online, but it was like kind of nice actually. It wasn't Findom or anything. I didn't pay it or anything. So that was, I guess, my first dom that I served, if you want to say that, as a young boy online. So it wasn't just like porn usage and reading stories, but also like texting and doing exercises, femdom-related exercises, of course, and Then that's quite the start of it. At the age of 14, 15, I think it was the start, And then at the age of 17, I stumbled across Findom. And it really fascinated me. It fascinated the shit out of me. It excited me big times. And it was really intense. It was like a step up for me. But before I get into the story of me getting into Findom, I want to add the note that back in the days when the whole thing with the porn started, when I was 14, 15, 16, even 17, I wasn't really aware that this could also be harmful for me at some point, or this could be bad for me at some point with the whole porn and the online world and stuff like that, because it got me such a big relief. As I said, got me such a big relief from the stress, from the anxiety of my day-to-day life and my life situation. And also the masturbation got me a big relief, obviously, so I masturbated a lot and also used unusual masturbation practices, which I wasn't aware of that back in the days. So yeah, of course, I guess many of you guys, or most of you guys, I think, can relate to it. I wasn't aware that porn or the online world in some form could be harmful for me doing this for hours every single day. Because, yeah, I thought like everyone is doing it, or at least every guy is doing it, and it's some point normal, exploring your sexuality, and it's exciting for me, and puberty and stuff like that, and getting to know my sexuality and stuff like that, and I thought everyone is doing it. But obviously I probably had in mind, I can remember that I had in mind, obviously, that I noticed that everyone else is probably, or at least in my mind, everyone else is probably watching something different and probably watching more vanilla porn and more other stuff than me watching just fetish, watching just Femdom porn and doing only Femdom. Because I never searched or never watched for vanilla porn or anything vanilla related, or anything related to like penetration, for example, penetrating a vagina of a woman, for example. I never watched for that, and I never had the desire back in the days for watching to it. I was completely focused on fetish and Femdom. But anyways, at age 17, as I said, I went into Findom, and it wasn't that I saw it and then started doing it myself. I gave myself some time. I was like, okay, this is a new thing, and it was really, really exciting for me. Really, really fascinating for me. So I read tons of stuff online. Back in the days, I can remember there was a German forum for it, with some members who are writing and documenting and journaling their sexuality and their Findom practices and what they are doing with their subs and what their subs are doing and all those kind of stuff. And I read it, I read all of it, I read it for hours, and it was super, super exciting for me. And it gave me really, really strong and crazy orgasms, and probably if you are into it, you can relate to it. And at some point, I was 18 when I started it. I watched on Amazon when I first sent the first gift code to a woman, and that was when I was 18. So I know exactly when I started. And it was with a girl on Facebook, and retrospectively speaking, I now don't even know if it was a fake or not. But I did a lot of sessions with her at the age of 18 and even 19, 20, I guess. And it was like a real Findom session, very, very strong verbal humiliation. Difficult word for me right now. Humiliation. And spending money on her, and it wasn't just like 10 euros or 20 euros. It was like, sometimes 100, sometimes 200 euros. I didn't have a financial problem. I never had a financial problem actually from Findom or any time in my life. So I wasn't that harshly affected financially by it. But it really hooked me. It really hooked me, and I read online many guys report how insanely intensive and extremely good feeling the orgasms are that they are getting from Findom or Femdom in general, or from their fetishes in general. And I can relate to this big times, because I never had anything in my life that was more intense and more kind of also sexually satisfying and more crazy and more synaptic exploding, mind exploding thing in my life ever. Like, because it just gave me the most intense orgasms ever, and it got really, it hooked on me. Or I got really hooked. And I can't compare anything to this. And so I got really sucked into this world. And yeah, after me exposing myself to the Femdom and Findom online world, my porn and online sex consummation escalated very quickly into more hardcore Femdom or more extreme Femdom. And I watched a ton of stuff, including humiliation, foot fetish, obviously, ball busting, spitting, all those kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff. And but nothing actually was so intense than Findom, and it started to become an obsession. And I scrolled hours upon hours through Twitter and other platforms where you can find Findoms, and I read what they are writing, especially Twitter, messaging them. And then chatting and doing online Findom sessions with them on Facebook, on the app Kick. In German, we have the platform markt.de. If anyone is from Germany, you probably know this. And also other sites where you can find different girls that are doing it. And I read through all the stuff that they are writing, how they introduce themselves and what they are looking for. And I wrote to them and searched for new DOMs that I can serve. And yeah, over the years, I lived it out with a lot of DOMs. And most of the time, I skipped from DOM to DOM because actually I was super ashamed of me liking it. And I was like, oh, that's not normal. There's something wrong with me, probably. I shouldn't like that. I shouldn't be hours upon hours online and doing this. And of course, I felt that it gave me huge orgasms and sexual satisfaction, actually. But also I felt the negative side. I felt that there's some destructive part in myself that is on the path of self-destruction in some form, that is not leading me to a good thing here, and that I was addicted to it, and that I couldn't stop even if I wanted to, and that got me trouble in my mind. And I was aware that, oh man, that's dangerous here, because it's so satisfying and it's so it gives me such a relief and such intense emotions, good emotions actually, right? But it's dangerous for me because I can really lose myself in it. But I also had like some longer periods of time where I was like, okay, let's try it out with a dom and serving her. But I wasn't really loyal actually, and always deleted my social media, deleted my Twitter, deleted my Kick account, deleted all my accounts, and just cut off the contact without saying anything, because I was like, no, tomorrow I stop, or no, that's enough. I'm so drained I'm so drained in terms of my energy, of course also financially, even though I never had a big problem financially. Mostly for me, my energy, because my energy is like really important to me. I felt drained and without energy, and it took so much from me and took so much time from me that I was aware, hey man, I need to stop. So I never really committed to a dom actually back then. And at this time also, like, we're talking about like, I guess I started at 18, as I said, and we're talking on a time period from me from 18 to, I guess, 23 or anything. I never did in this time period any real-time meeting, not even a camp session, because I was just way too shy and had a lot of shame and stuff like that. So I never did any camp session also. I just texted and sending pictures, but I also liked the texting, especially the verbal stuff, the humiliation, just reading it and writing something back. I got really into that. I loved that. But I also was very ashamed about it afterwards, and I felt very, very bad afterwards, and I felt like a freak and like a loser, and like an outcast from society actually, because I was into it. And also after the sessions, as I said, I felt really, really bad, because I masturbated big times. I masturbated tons of stuff in a row, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row, edging and edging for hours sometimes. You know, edging is like when you masturbate your penis without coming, and even when you right in the edge or before the edge of coming, you stop and you breathe and you take a little break, and then you start again masturbating, and you just do this for hours I did this for hours while scrolling through Twitter, writing, chatting, texting, doing Findom sessions and watching videos, reading online and stuff like that. And it really takes a lot of energy and a lot of time from you. And as I said, I felt it wasn't good for me. It was some kind of self-destructive energy that is letting me do this, or that is forcing me to do this. I felt that back in the days, even being 18, 19, I felt there was some negative energy that had control over me and I couldn't really stop. And there was the paradox of having the sessions and doing the masturbation sessions and the online sessions and the Findom sessions that felt so extremely good to me and so sexually satisfying to me, but it hurt me at the same time. I couldn't really point my finger back then what it is that made me do it. I mean, like some sort of energy, and I couldn't really stop. I just felt that there was some kind of trauma energy behind it, but there was also the paradox of me having intense satisfaction through it, but it also hurt me at the same time. It was super confusing, actually. And back in the days, I already was a very shy guy. I had tons of social anxiety in school, as I said, as I already mentioned, in school, even with my friends, and my parents' situation wasn't very supporting either. And this addiction affected me even more negatively. It felt like it sucked out the life out of me, especially because, yeah, I edged such long times or for hours on a row, and I had orgasm after orgasm. To a point where my penis was even not really hard anymore, but I still went on and masturbated and come with a penis that wasn't really hard anymore. I couldn't stop, and I was like super shocked, and I was super shocked about how arousing this all is for me and how much time I could spend on this, and I had just ecstasy for hours. This is what it felt like, and it sucked me into it, and it also took a lot of stuff from me, and took a lot of energy and a lot of time from me. And after I finished the session, I felt so drained and of my energy and my confidence, because I also read all the humiliating insults for hours on Twitter, for example, on repeat, and I really felt pathetic, and I really felt weak and unmanly and like a loser. And at this time, it was also not even imaginable for me to have a girlfriend, or that any girl would want to be with me when I was into it and when I was addicted to it. I deeply know inside myself that I had to get out of it at some point. And then came a phase in my life that I would call the self-development phase, because I was 19, 20, and I said to myself, dude, you're 19 right now, you're 20 right now, you never had a girlfriend, you never had sex, you're just here watching porn every day, doing online sex every day for hours, while other guys having a girlfriend, having sex, talking about it, having a good time in life, enjoying their school life. I was deeply afraid of school and social gatherings and stuff like that. There are other guys who have a girlfriend and enjoy life, and I'm just sitting here alone in my room and watching porn and doing online sex basically for hours, being alone. I mean, I had friends, but I felt alone, and I had a deep desire for intimacy and for love. And for getting my life handled, actually. And because the whole addiction and my whole lifestyle and my whole insecurity affected myself big times in terms of energy, in terms of my time that I spent, because I was also deeply, deeply insecure when interacting with other people, with other men, when they were talking about their girlfriends or having sex or dating anyone, and you stand by and in your mind, you know, you don't date anyone, you never had a girlfriend, you never had sex, you're basically a virgin, and you really feel bad. You feel bad about it, you feel ashamed about it, you feel like an outcast, you feel like an outsider, you feel like you are missing big times out in life, while other guys are enjoying it. You feel like less than them, and I was super insecure in general, with women of course, but also with other men in my life, that I had the feeling were more manly and had more success with women or had a better, cooler life than me. So I set the goal of me getting my life handled and working hardcore on myself and putting big pressure and big stress on myself, because I really thought, dude, I have to become another person. I have to completely change my life. I have to completely transform my life. And I also had the feeling, and that was also a big motivator and a big intention of me, was like, okay, I'm not just doing it for myself, I'm also doing it for the other guys that I saw online struggling with it and failing to overcome it, and feel bad and feel frustrated and feel alone, just like me. And I felt, back in the days when I'm 19, 20, I felt like it is a mission of myself to get this handled, to get my life handled, and to overcome it, and to overcome my addiction, so that I can be kind of a role model also for other guys. That was also a big, if not even the biggest motivation for me to really work hardcore on myself. And so I got deeply into the self-development and self-help movement. Maybe you know the whole movement and the scene. And yeah, I did probably a lot of stuff from it, and I tried out everything. Like, I worked on eating healthy, I worked out, I meditated, I did NoFap, I read books on addiction and on self-help and on personal development. I did shadow work, I tried to work on my addiction, I went to seminars, I did trauma work, I got into New Age spirituality with meditating hours every day. I went to a Vipassana meditation retreat where you are sitting there for 10 days straight, every single day for 8 to 10 hours every single day meditating. I did an NLP course, which is like some form of a coaching program, so you can coach yourself and also other people. I went to a masculinity retreat, which was kind of crazy actually. And what I want to say and what I want to share with you is, I really tried out tons of stuff, and I really put myself out there, and I tried to work on myself, and I tried out every way, and I tried to find new information, read books, tried out new techniques, tried out new perspectives and new techniques to overcome the addiction and to better myself as a person. I really got into the mindset of me wanting to become the best version of myself, no matter what. And you have to understand that everything in my life, like from eating healthy, from the food that I take in, from the time that I wake up to the time at the evening, I try to align every single action to this goal of me overcoming my addiction and becoming the best version of myself. I was absolutely obsessed with it. With me changing myself, with me becoming another person. I was absolutely obsessed with it. And yeah, that was kind of a crazy phase in my life. So I did a lot of stuff. So another thing that I did was actually going into pickup. I don't know if you know this or if you came across it. You maybe heard from the term pickup artist. And pickup artistry, or the pickup scene, is a scene where guys, mostly in their 20s, come together and want to work on their social skills in terms of dating. And some guys just have the goal to fuck as many women as possible. And most of guys but have the intention of working on their social skills because they are shy, they have fear of intimacy or some other issue that they want to overcome, mostly shyness and not having dates. And yeah, so it's like kind of self-help for dating. And it was between the age of 20 and 23 where I got really big times into it. And there were also other pick-up guys who want to train that, who want to train approaching girls, who want to date more girls, who want to get to know more girls in my town. And I met up with them. And the basic routine for me was, because I had the intention to work on my social anxiety first, because I thought, okay, I have this addiction and I don't have a girlfriend and I don't date any girls. I mean, like, I have some friends and I got also to know some women through my friend circle, but I thought, like, dude, I have to get so many dates because I was so shy that I have to train, like, really, how am I dating? How can I get into physical stuff with a girl? How can I manage that? How can I lead? What can I do on a date? I thought, like, dude, I need a training program. I need to train. I need dates. I need to get to know girls and also finding the right woman and stuff like that. And I wanted to work hardcore on that. And then I thought, then I came across the pickup scene and it was like an epiphany, like, oh man, I can work on that. I don't have to stay a socially awkward guy or shy guy. I can actually work on that. And the pickup scene is built around the thing that you go out and approach girls directly in the street or in the club. And I was too shy for the nightclub. I mean, sometimes I also went into the nightclub, but most of the time I lived 30 minutes from the town, from the big city, and I think sometimes or some weeks, every single day, I took the train to the town, 20 minutes or 30 minutes, just to walk around and approach girls directly. Even on Sundays sometimes, even on Christmas, I guess. I was super obsessed with it because I also met up with other guys in my town and we pushed ourselves together and just said, dude, we have to train, we have to get out, we have to meet women, we have to train our social skills and dating skills and flirt skills. So I went out a lot of times, and at first, you know, being shy, being socially awkward kind of, you just walk around the town and you see girls. Ah, this one is nice. Ah, this one is nice. Ah, this one seems to be interesting. But you don't have the, let's say you don't have the balls to actually do it. So you waste tons of time just walking around and doing nothing, and you feel bad that you didn't do anything. And but after times, because I persisted and did it for months, on and off, but I did it for months, and yeah, did it a lot. I invested a lot of time in it, just walking around. And after time, I approached and directly, you have to imagine just like approaching a girl in the street, completely random, saying, "Hey, I just saw you, and you look interesting. You look kind of cute. I like you. I just want to get to know you a little bit. Do you have time for like 3-minute conversation? Hey, I'm Toby. What's up? Yada yada." And you're doing that all the time. And after time, when you're doing this, and I did it hundreds of times at this point probably, you get better at it and you get more confident in it because I got good reactions from girls. I'm kind of a charming guy, I think, when I'm doing it, because I can be very authentic and also kind of confident when I'm doing it. Over the months and over the weeks, I practiced that, and it's your normal reality at some point again. It's completely normal for me right now to approach a girl. I mean, like, I haven't done it for months and years right now, but it's not a big deal anymore for me. because I invested such a long time into it, into doing it, and doing it hundreds and hundreds of times. And I got good reactions by the girls, and I got tons of dates actually from it. Like I can remember that I had in 1 week, and this just, it wasn't all the weeks, it was just 1 week, I had 3 dates with 3 different girls, you know, like, and on the other weeks I had also numbers from girls, and we texted, and we had set up dates and stuff like that. So I had a lot of dates with it, or from it, and I was kind of successful. And it was like really fun also to get to know different girls and talking to it and getting creatively in talking to them and stuff like that, and getting more confident. It was like a journey in the whole journey itself. So it was cool. It taught me a lot of stuff actually. It taught me confidence also, not permanently actually, but it taught me a lot. So I had a lot of dates, and I felt proud of myself, I felt confident, and then I went on the dates, and I was like shy and insecure. I still was very, very insecure about my fetishes and being into the whole Femdom thing and being addicted to it. But I could be very confident with the girls that I dated or with the girls that I approached. And it doesn't really felt fake, you know, like sometimes you just put on a confident fake front, and I guess it was a little bit like that, but it felt also very confident for me because, I don't know, like, I worked myself up and I got confident and I felt good. I felt good in my skin while doing it, while approaching it, and also while doing first dates and stuff like that. I got more confident in it, and it didn't felt any fake. It didn't felt so fake or anything. It felt like the authentic, confident side of myself that I put out. But on the other side, I didn't show my vulnerable, my insecure, highly, highly insecure side that I also had in myself because of my sexuality. So I wasn't very vulnerable with the girls that I dated. And I always was afraid that the girls that I dated find out, okay, he seems to be a confident guy, but behind the surface, he's super insecure and he likes the fetishes and he has this fetish, and he probably can't really have, or I thought that I can't really have sex because like I never watched vanilla porn. I never had the desire even to penetrate a woman. I was completely focused on my fetish and femdom sexuality. I didn't even want to penetrate a woman. Like I didn't felt the desire, and of course it was confusing. And I thought it was something deeply wrong with myself. So I was kind of confident on the dates, but also deep inside myself, I felt super insecure because of my sexuality, and I was afraid that she will find out about it. And most of my dates went very okay, went very good. Sometimes it was just 1 date, sometimes 2 dates, sometimes 3 dates with one girl, and we got to know each other a little bit better, sometimes even the 4th date, 5th date, I guess. But the thing is that I self-sabotaged myself. I think because in my mind I had the fantasy after the dates that I wasn't good enough, the date wasn't good enough, I wasn't cool enough for her, I wasn't leading enough, I wasn't masculine enough, I wasn't manly enough, because on the dates I never did anything physical, I never really touched her, I never went on a kiss, I never did anything like that actually from myself, like from me pushing it myself. And I felt ashamed about it because I thought, and I was also affected by the pickup scene, you know, and the pickup teachers that I watched the videos from, who told me or who told the audience that it's better to get physical quickly so the girl knows your intention, and that you don't want to be just friends with her. So I was like under pressure and under stress of me having to go into like physical stuff with the girl, and I need to touch her and I need to get into the kiss, and I stressed myself big times about it. I put so much pressure and stress on myself, on my shoulders, that it really blocked myself. And after the dates, I had this whole negative fantasy in my mind going that I wasn't good enough, I didn't get physical with her, it wasn't cool enough, I didn't show my intention enough and stuff like that. And oftentimes I just broke off the contact because I just thought, oh no, the girl isn't interested, even though, this is important, even though it wasn't rationally. It wasn't rational because the girl reacted positively to me on a date, even on a second date, or if it just was the first date, on a first date. She even reacted after the date positively, sending me a text message or anything. But in my mind, I had this reality of me not being good enough. So I broke off the contact with a lot of girls. I ghosted a lot of girls. I'm not proud of it, but it was what it was, actually. And that was really, really frustrating for me because yeah, I thought like, dude, I have to get sex, I have to get a girlfriend, I have to date, I need to work on myself, I need to come out of this sexual addiction, come out of this sexual shyness and this fear. And then I broke off the contact with the girl, even though the date went okay or even good. And I easily could have scheduled another date with her, but I just broke off the contact. I ghosted a lot of girls like that. And what I also did is like, sometimes right before the date, some hours before the date, I was super nervous. You have to know, I was super nervous, super anxious about the date, and I couldn't hold it in myself anymore. So I needed relief, and I went to Femdom porn some hours before the date or a day before the date, and I masturbated big times, and I edged for hours, I watched for hours, and after that I feel drained, I feel energy-less, I feel super insecure, no confidence in all after that. And then I just canceled the date because I felt like, dude, no, with this energy, with this low energy, low confidence, it doesn't make sense. So I actually sabotaged myself in the whole dating stuff and broke off the contact, sabotaged myself with porn, draining my energy before dates, putting a lot of stress, a lot of pressure on myself in the date, so I can't really be so openly, so authentically as I wanted. I mean, at first, yes. At first I was super charming, super authentic, retrospectively speaking, for my, in comparison to where I came from, right? But then when we, for example, get closer together, like when I took her home at my place and we were sitting there and maybe, we had some food, and after that I froze because it was so intimate. We were in my room and I thought in my mind, oh no, now is the time to get physical with her. Now is the time to get maybe to touch her or to kiss her or to get with her in bed, maybe even with clothes on, whatever. But now is the time to do this, or I have the chance to do this because she is also reacting positively to me and she's kind of attracted to me. That I froze on the dates. I froze and my mind went black. My mind went into blackout mode and I couldn't even come up with a thing to say anymore. And I really had a lot of awkward situations. I can remember sitting on my couch with a girl and my mind just went blank. And we were sitting there, complete silence. It was super awkward. She went going on with some discussion or some topic, but I noticed how I got really tense in myself and how I felt really awkward and embarrassed because I felt so freezed and so tense. And then at some point she went home, obviously, and after that I felt super bad. All because I felt so tense and I couldn't do anything about it because I felt so freezed. I really felt freezed and in blackout mode. I couldn't do anything against it, and that felt really out of control. That felt really bad, really, intense also. I also can remember a girl that was very pushy herself. She wanted to have sex with me, she wanted to kiss myself, she was very into me, and she managed to get me in my bed with clothes on, and we kissed, and we touched with clothes on. But then too. I got really freezed. I was super nervous. Oh God, what am I doing? What if I can't have really sex with her? What if my penis doesn't work? I was really afraid about that because I didn't watch vanilla porn. I didn't masturbate to anything vanilla. I didn't masturbate to the fantasy of me penetrating a woman or having vanilla sex. It was just foot fetish, just femdom, findom, all those kind of stuff. So I was deeply afraid that it doesn't really work out and it will be really, really awkward. And I couldn't explain it because I don't want to say, hey, I'm just addicted to femdom and findom. So I was super embarrassed, super afraid, and I got super freezed in that situation with the girl in my bed, kissing her, and I felt super tense. I couldn't enjoy it, not at all. And then we stopped at some point. I didn't go further. And then we set up a next date. And she came and we got in my bed again, and she sat next to me and she was looking at myself, and I looked at her and I could see that she wanted to do it. She wanted to have sex, she wanted to kiss myself right now, and she was waiting for me to make a move, because obviously why wouldn't you? Obviously, she thought, why wouldn't you make a move? Because we already have like kissed and cuddled in bed and stuff like that, right? But in this situation, I felt the pressure of her wanting me to do something, and I felt the pressure, and I was super nervous, super anxious, because I knew, oh God, I have to do something, and then I got freezed. My mind completely blank, freezed. Couldn't come up with any topic to say, couldn't come up with anything to say. I couldn't move myself. I didn't say anything. I didn't make a move. I was so nervous and I was so weirded out by myself. You have to understand, I was so weirded out by myself. I only could manage to get my phone out of my pocket and just scroll through my phone and ignored her. I ignored her and I act as I wasn't interested in her, and I did this for minutes, and she was like, obviously, dude, what's going on? And she was like, she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything, and then she put out her phone and she said, I'm just watching for the next train, and then I'm leaving. And I was like, yeah, sure. And that was so awkward. It was really awkward, and I had to wait when her train comes, and then after she went, we never spoke anymore. We broke off contact, obviously, because obviously it wasn't rational what I'm doing. I couldn't explain myself. That was also really frustrating. I couldn't explain myself. I didn't have a clue at all what was going on in myself. I was just freezed. I was complete blackout, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on. I really didn't had a clue, because in my mind I just thought, okay, I have to go. I have to push through my social anxiety with doing pickup, with getting into dates and stuff like that. But I didn't expect it to be that harsh on myself, like with the whole freezing and the blackout. I wasn't expecting that. And I was super frustrated and super like sad about it, because after that I felt so bad, because obviously I didn't want to behave with a girl like that. I don't want to act that irrational and couldn't explain myself. I don't want her to feel bad. I don't want her to feel that I'm not interested in her, or that she did something wrong. I didn't want it at all, but I couldn't manage it. It wasn't possible at these situations, and I had several situations like that. And it was on dates, outside, in a coffee, at my place with different women. I had this with different women. It was so awkward, so embarrassing. It was so frustrating. And I felt sad after that, and I cried, and I was like, dude, what's wrong with me? What's going on? It was super intense, super emotionally for me, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? That was really frustrating experiences for me, and it also showed me that there was something wrong. I felt like there was something deeply wrong with me. It wasn't just my addiction to femdom and findom. I was really afraid of sex. I was really afraid of intimacy. When we went to my place, it's more intimacy than outside, of course. We were together two women and men in a room together, it was more intimacy than just being in a coffee and drinking coffee and talking together. That was fine. But when we went to my place, it was like super awkward. It was like I was super tense. I can even remember also talking with a woman, with a girl that was like kind of open. I talk about her about my fetish. Like I don't know why, but at some point we came across the topic of fetishes and foot fetish, and I bluntly told her I also have a foot fetish and I like it, and I was super confident. And I had this paradox in myself. On the one side, I was super confident on the day, talking with her, being creative, showing humor and stuff like that, very authentically, not really thinking about strategically trying to impress her or anything. I was just me, my confidence side, showing her my confidence side and having fun, and it was really awesome. But on the other side, when it came to more intimacy, when it came to more, okay, now I have to get physical with her. Now I have the chance to get physical with her or get into bed with her. And with this specific girl, I even have the chance to get into like foot fetish stuff, maybe because I just told her, completely confident. And she was cool with it, I don't know. But I completely freezed. My insecure side came out. I got really tense, really insecure, and then nothing worked anymore. And that was such a paradox and so weird, and it was so confusing for me. Yeah, that was quite a journey, actually. And it showed to myself, it isn't just the Femdom and Findom addiction. It isn't just the porn addiction. It isn't just the social anxiety or the shyness that I have to work through. It is also a deep-rooted fear of intimacy. And I'm using my Femdom addiction to satisfy my sexual needs while keeping me away from dating on purpose, you know? Like, because when I watch porn, when I'm doing online sex, Femdom, Findom, spending my money, spending my time on it, spending my energy on it, masturbating to it, of course, I don't have time, I don't have energy for dating real life girls and getting into a real intimate relationship. And that was a real eye-opener, and it was really frustrating because I didn't get it at first, and I had a lot of dates, a lot of embarrassing dates, a lot of embarrassing situations, although pickup and approaching girls, and please don't get me wrong, I didn't, because in the pickup scene there's also a lot of, it has an image of manipulation, and that you manipulate women into sex. And some guys are fucked up and they are doing it, all right? Some guys are doing it like that, but I was just like, and a lot of guys were like, that I went also out with them, were like, okay, I just want to fuck a lot of girls. I want to fuck her, And I was like, I couldn't even understand, because I just wanted to have a girlfriend, and I just wanted to push through my social anxiety and having dates. And I didn't use any like strategy or tactic to get her in my bed or anything. I just approached her and tried to be as confident and as authentic as possible, as charming as possible, and trying to train that and trying to ease myself more into being social and being flirty and stuff like that. And it teach me tons of it. But yeah, the whole phase also showed me, dude, there's something more deep-rooted in your subconscious that is holding you back, and you self-sabotage, and you self-destruct with your addiction, and you self-sabotage with you breaking off contact and freezing that I couldn't even control. So yeah, that was like a crazy journey too. So this time in my life with the pickup teach me a lot, like approaching girls directly on the streets or in the club, and actually like being able to approach girls wherever I want, getting to know girls, dating girls, and being more social and being more at ease with dating and flirting and approaching girls. It taught me a lot, and it was like a very, very valuable part of my journey. But on the other hand, it was super, super frustrating, because I had so much opportunities to do something sexually or physically with a girl or get to know a girl more intimately with a lot of girls, actually, like mostly from pickup, because most of my dates came from me doing pickup, from me approaching a girl. But also, like, I got to know girls from my study or girls within my friend circle that were very interested in me and that I had the opportunity to actually do something with, that I didn't took. And it was really frustrating because I couldn't do anything with them, because at the end I freezed up, I broke off the contact, and I just stopped it before anything gets too close. But what then happened is quite a funny story, because I was 24 and I was still addicted and chatted with different DOMs and got to know different DOMs online. And I got to know a woman within the Findom scene online that was very new to it. And yeah, I approached her, or I messaged her, and she was very new. I sensed, and I liked it when they were new and they were more empathetic and more open to talk about. And we did sessions, but also we texted a lot. We did sessions, but we also texted a lot and get to know each other over text. And I shared my struggle and my story with her openly. I think the first time ever with a girl, while she was very, very understanding and very empathetic, and she asked questions, and I felt that she tried to help me or be supportive with it. And we texted for months, actually, before we set up a date to meet, actually, in her town. And it was quite a difference for me. It was a little bit distance away from my town, but I didn't really care, because we texted for months and I felt it felt good with her, and I trusted her to some extent, and I was okay when she didn't show up. I was like, I don't give a shit. Let's just drive to her town, and maybe she's there, maybe not. But she was there, and she also was a little bit nervous about it, because it was her first time. It was also my first real time meeting in relation to Findom or Femdom. And that was quite exciting for me, because we agreed that I take her out for a shopping tour for her, and we went through the town, and I bought her stuff, and it was the first Findom real life experience I had, and actually it was quite nice, because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it sexually, of course, but it was not that intense and amazing in comparison to me sitting in front of the laptop and having all the images and the stories and the videos and stuff like that. It wasn't that intense, but it turned me on. And she was very empathetic. She was very nice. We clicked with each other, and it was very fun, actually. And we liked each other. And she took me home after the shopping tour to her home, and I actually stayed at her home spontaneously for 3 days. I can remember it was like, I don't know, 3 days before Christmas, and we went to her place, and I was super shy. I remember I was super shy, and she knew my story, and also me being a virgin and not really being very insecure about my sexuality and stuff like that. So I felt some comfort and some trust in her or with her, but I was still very, very shy when we were at her place, and she sensed that, and she helped me to get over the shyness a little bit. And we did some foot fetish stuff. We did, and then she invited me to stay with her the night, and then in the night we kissed, and we did some stuff sexually with clothes, but also then without clothes, and not vanilla, not penetrating her, not sex in this terms, but me rubbing my penis on her legs and stuff like that. So we were like sexually very active in some form. So it became like a friend of benefit for me. And I stayed there the first time for 2 nights, 3 days, and I came even like a little late for my Christmas party with my parents and with my family. That was quite a funny story actually, because I never expected it. We both didn't expect it, that we clicked that well and that I stayed there overnight and stuff like that. So yeah, as I said, she became my friend with benefit, and we did, of course, we did Femdom and we did also Findom, and yeah, but we also did like, it was more like a girlfriend experience actually, because we hold hands, we make out naked, and she was very supporting, very empathetic. She, of course, she also liked the Findom part, and she also enjoyed Femdom, and it was quite nice. It was a very cool time with her. But while being with her, of course, I had the goal of me having sex with her, and of course I could do that. She was open for that. She was ready for that, and I tried to work on myself and tried some exercises, some Kegel exercises to strengthen my penis and stuff like that. But I never actually tried it out. That's the point. I never tried it actually out with her. I always had the feeling that my penis isn't hard enough for penetration. My penis isn't hard enough for vanilla sex, and also my fantasies didn't really revolve around vanilla sex. I mean, like, my mind got more open for it because I had some fantasies. While I didn't know that, my fantasies changed a little bit. Also having vanilla sex fantasies at some point. But I never tried it out with her, so I never really knew if it really didn't work out, but I always had the feeling that it won't work. Oh, nah, let's not do it. So that was my fear of intimacy, my fear of sex kicking in, actually. But she was fine with that, and we just did like, yeah, me rubbing my penis on her and stuff like that, and other stuff, of course. But I was afraid of sex and afraid of too much intimacy. But she was super understanding about it. So yeah, what I can retrospectively say here, and I didn't really notice it back then, I was just like, okay, nah, it probably won't work, or it won't work, nah, it won't work with the whole sex topic. But retrospectively speaking, it was my fear of intimacy kicking in, because it may even have worked out if I have tried it out with her, like penetrating her and stuff like that. But I didn't even try it out. I always came up with an excuse in my mind and a fantasy in my mind, and I didn't really, tried it out actually, which is quite noticeably for me. And it showed me, oh, it's probably more fear of sex and more fear of intimacy than that it maybe really didn't work out. And I still was very insecure with my sexuality, and also with Findom. I always tried to change it, and I tried to get rid of Findom especially. I was like kind of cool with the whole foot fetish and with the whole Femdom, but I wasn't cool with the money, because Findom was mostly all of the time a part of our relationship, and it felt good to some extent because I could really test it out with her and tried it out in real life, even though I noticed that it wasn't that amazing and intensely, even though I enjoyed it very much, that intensely while me doing porn and online sex. But I still was very insecure about it. And at some point, I think she also wanted more from me in terms of not just being friends with benefits, but also being closer together. But I couldn't really see that because I was so insecure about Findom, and I also had fantasies of her, because we did Findom, of her just using me for the money, which was completely irrational, by the way, because it was clearly not the point. She eventually also proposed to me that we can also stop Findom. But yeah, in the end we broke off because I was super insecure about it, and it was kind of annoying also probably for her, because yeah, that I was so insecure about it, and I felt I wasn't good enough, and all this subconscious self-sabotaging that were in there, and fear of intimacy and stuff like that. But we had a really nice time from my perspective. We had together. I didn't regret it or anything. It was like a very nice time. And this time was also very valuable for me too, because it showed me that there are girls outside that are very empathetic and very caring and very understanding, also of fetishes that are kind of unusual and a little bit more extreme, and that I could have a girlfriend or even like some closer relationship, even though I have these problems in my life with addiction and my fetishes and my sexual taste, and me thinking that or me not having sex, or me not being able to perform sexually how I wanted it. And I realized that I never really had a problem with my foot fetish and with me loving Femdom. I was cool with that, but Findom caused me quite a headache still, because I wanted to get rid of it, and I wanted to be able to have sex, and I wanted to connect with a woman, to really connect, because most of the time when we sexually did something, I had Femdom and Findom fantasies in my mind to get me going, and I want to change that. And so after that, after we broke off contact, I took time for myself. I needed time to process everything, and I didn't date it for a long time, actually. I didn't feel the desire to date also. But my porn and online sex addiction was obviously still there. However, at some point, I noticed that I shifted at least a little bit, and it got less and less power over me, because I was a little bit more accepting of me and of my situation, of my fetishes, even of Findom, a little bit at least. Of course, I wanted to quit still, and I wanted to get rid of it still, but I was a little bit more accepting of it, and I had a little bit more compassion for myself and for my situation, even with this addiction. So it got a little less power over me in terms of like, not the time that I dedicated to it, but how I felt after it, how I felt after the porn and the online sex sessions. Because beforehand, I felt very, very low in confidence and in energy, and I felt bad, and I felt ashamed and like a weirdo and like a freak. And I didn't say that this completely went away at this point, but it didn't affect my mood after the session so bad than before. I didn't have the same shame cycle than before, and could stop earlier, or after it I went on with my life kind of normally. Of course, like coming a lot, masturbating a lot, edging a lot. This takes a lot of energy from you and takes a lot of time from you. But my confidence got a little bit more basic, a little bit more stable, I would say. And it wasn't such a big drop in confidence anymore. And that was actually a big first eye-opener, that this compassion and acceptance for me and for my situation helped me a little bit, at least, in terms of me not feeling that bad anymore after the sessions. And I had more energy and more energy after the sessions to go on with my life, even though I was still addicted to it. And after the friends of benefit situation, I also had 1 or 2 or 3 other girls that I dated in real life, in the whole Femdom and Findom scene. But I don't want to go into detail in this episode on those, because like they were also some special epiphanies or some special moments, but I don't want to make this episode too long. So let's shift to the beginning of 2020, because at the beginning of 2020, I fell into a really, really depressed state, because at this point in my life, at the beginning of 2020, I didn't really have a purpose in my life, because the plan for me starting my own business didn't work out at all, and I didn't have anything to do. I was without a job, and my porn addiction at this time got a more grip on me again, because just out of boredom and out of meaninglessness and purposelessness. And I felt depressed, and also because of the whole virus situation, the whole C virus situation. I was in a dark space, and I was also frustrated because I still was addicted. I'm 25, I still was addicted to Femdom and Findom porn. It has a little less power over myself, but I got a little more grip now on myself again, and I had the intimacy that I wanted in my life, and I hadn't solved the fear of intimacy situation. And I felt like, damn, I tried out so much: meditating, eating healthy, doing trauma work, doing shadow work, spirituality, going to retreats, going to seminars, doing pickup, working on my shyness, working on my social skills, reading books, meditating for hours. Sometimes I meditated like for 4 hours a day. And all those stuff teach me a lot. Don't get me wrong, the whole self-development, self-help phase, it all gave me something, it all teach me something, but it was like never permanent, wasn't a permanent solution, even no fab and stuff like that. It wasn't a permanent situation, or a permanent solution. And I eventually always felt back actually, and I was still addicted, and I had still my fear of intimacy. Even though, I mean, like, I progressed a little, but I didn't plan to be still addicted and still have the fear of intimacy and still haven't really girlfriend with 25, you know, like, didn't plan that the journey takes so much time actually. And it was a really dark moment for myself because I felt like I tried out everything and nothing really worked out permanently. I mean, everything taught a lot about myself. I learned a lot about myself, and I had from these phases and from these things that I did, I have a lot of self-awareness now in my life, and I can reflect myself a lot of, very, very good, I would say. But I learned tons of it. I learned ton about self-awareness and understanding myself, understanding psychology also. But it didn't really help me permanently, and I felt like nothing really changed, and I wasn't really the person or the human being that I wanted to be. So yeah, it was like a little depressing hole that I was in. And it was really the most dark times in my life. Like, I was just super unproductive, lazy, sleeping hours, like really like 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours a day, just staying in my room, feeling also bad about that, feeling ashamed about that. Really dark times, no motivation, completely, it was dark, yeah. And out of this darkness and out of this, this depressed state and me feeling like I tried out everything, I came to the conclusion that I tried out one thing, or there's one thing that I didn't try it out yet. And actually it's funny because I wanted to try it out even if I wouldn't have this addiction, even if I wouldn't had this path. Like years ago, I told myself, it's super interesting, I'm super curious about it, I wanted to try it out no matter what at some point in my life, but I never did it. And that was therapy. And I always was interested in it because I always was curious about psychology and transformation and how change works and how human being works, how thoughts are working, how feelings are working, how I can work through subconscious topics, meditation, subconscious releasing of emotions, and all those kind of stuff. I was super interested into it because also of my journey, because I wanted to change myself. And I never just tried it out actually, because in my mind, I was like, okay, dude, I have this mission. I want to overcome this addiction, and I want to get my life handled. I want to get a girlfriend, and I want to overcome my fear of intimacy and work through all my struggles. I want to do it by myself. I'm I'm an ambitious guy. I have the discipline. I can work hard. I will do it. I will make it by my own, because I wanted also to teach it other guys how to do it. And I want to go through it myself and learn everything that I can to change it. But I learned now that this perspective, like of me just trying to do it on my own and not getting help, was a completely irrational mindset. Because when you go to therapy, the therapist isn't magically transforming your issues for yourself. You get an outside perspective that may or may not help you, but at the end you are still going through your journey, going through your own transformation if you're open to it, and you need to work on yourself, and this can't do a therapist for you. So this was a completely irrational mindset, and I should have gone to a therapist earlier in my life, retrospectively speaking. But now I went to therapy, and I had the luck that my therapist was very, very, very good, and in my perspective, extremely good in her profession. And I'm super, super grateful for doing this for me, for going to therapy, for making the decision, okay, fuck man, I tried out everything, now's the chance, now's the time, go to therapy, get an outside perspective, let's go. And I'm super grateful for doing that for me, because this was the best decision in my life, because my transformation exploded after going to it. I felt like every therapy session was super helpful for me, and I got super helpful perspectives from her, because she was super good in her profession. But on a side note, what also was a barrier for me to go to psychotherapy was like I read from tons of guys online who went to therapy because of their Findom addiction and Femdom addiction, that it doesn't work, it didn't bring anything. And I can imagine myself that many therapists don't have a clue about it and can't really manage this when you come up with this topic, and aren't really educated on it and aren't very helpful about it, because they don't really have a clue what the client is going through and what kind of things are in work there and why they are doing it. And they're hearing it for the first time and stuff like that. So I'm sure that therapy isn't the solution for everyone, actually. But my therapist is super, super good. So I had the luck that I met her. And as I said, it was one of the best decisions in my whole life, and it helped me tremendously, and it sped up my progress. It was insane. Like every session was very, very helpful. And the ideas and perspectives that I got there in talking with her really assisted me in transforming my life completely. And yeah, that was kind of my story, kind of my journey up until now. I went into detail, and I hope you could get something out of it, and you could maybe relate, and maybe you could get some inspiration by it. To conclude on this channel, in the following videos, I want to go into all the things and all the perspectives that really helped me to overcome my challenges. Because now I truly have a different kind of life, like having a girlfriend, being way, way more confident and grounded in myself, in my sexuality, exploring right now my whole sexuality with my girlfriend, like vanilla sex, but also my dominant side in bed, which I really, really like, which I really explore right now and like right now. And yeah, porn, online sex haven't any power over me anymore. And sure, I'm still working through my fear of intimacy with my girlfriend. I have my girlfriend, or I got to know my girlfriend like 6 or 7 months now ago. And we sure had also our struggles with my fear of intimacy. And we still have some struggles and challenges here and there. But I have a complete different life experience right now compared to me years ago. When I compare myself now to me years ago, when I started this journey, but also within the struggle, I am a completely different human being. Like, not completely different. Let's not say like that. That's not true. But but people outside probably would say, like, when old guys would meet me now after a long time of not seeing me, they would probably say, oh my God, he's a completely different guy, because I'm social, I'm confident, I have a girlfriend, I'm sexually satisfied, stuff like that. I do vanilla sex, and everything is fine. Like, I overcame my fear of intimacy, and I'm still overcoming it step by step. But to conclude, it's a very different life experience that I have right now. And still, when I remember me back in the day struggling and fighting and trying to conquer that in some form, there was like literally no one actually talking about this topic. Like Findom addiction, Femdom addiction. I mean, sure, like guys online writing about it, like their erectile dysfunction issues, their addiction issues, Femdom ruining their lives. But there was no one that really overcame it. There was no one that I could see as a blueprint, or just like as an inspiration. Okay, this guy overcame it, this guy had done it, this guy has now a girlfriend, this guy can now have vanilla sex and is free of like the porn addiction and the online sex addiction. He doesn't need it anymore because he figured it out. He just worked through his issues and his subconscious blockages and his fears, and to such an extent that he now has a different life. I didn't have this, and it wasn't there in the last years, and I think that's really not very motivating also for guys that are trying to, are in this fight right now. And I want to create, that's my mission. I want to create this podcast because I want to give you hope and share my story with you, and tell you that it is possible, because I myself did it, and now you know where I'm coming from. Because I feel like I came from zero, and I had a lot of experiences, I tried out a lot of stuff, and now I changed my life. And I hope you really enjoyed listening to this story. It was like kind of long episode right now, but I really enjoyed doing it. I really enjoyed like the process of writing the notes, remembering all the times, getting emotionally, also like forgiving myself for all the fighting and the struggle and all those kind of things. And now, like retrospectively, seeing my life or seeing my past in front of me while having conquered like the goal that I wanted to conquer, or the goal that I wanted to reach, is super amazing. And I want to give back, and I want to help you guys. And currently I'm studying psychology, or I will study psychology in October here in Germany, because I plan to become a psychotherapist and really help guys in the Femdom and Findom scene with their problems. I really take this seriously, and this is just a little start. This is just a little start of a podcast, and I try to find out how I can serve you best right now, and how I can help you best right now, and I will figure that out in the future. And I really want to connect with you also, like with people that are listening to this podcast, with people that have this struggle, that are in this struggle right now, that are in this fight right now. And so thank you very, very much for listening to this. I hope you can relate to it, to my story a little bit, and I hope you can get some inspiration and some hope out of it. And I would be very, very happy if you can comment on this video and give me a little feedback, or introducing yourself. Who are you? I really want to get to know you. I really want to get to know the guys that are listening to this podcast, and for that the podcast is relevant, because I want to come into contact with you. So Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed already, and if this podcast is interesting and relevant for you, then click on the subscribe button here. And please, you would do me a real good favor if you can comment, introduce yourself a little bit. Where are you coming from? What's your struggle? How old are you? I really want to make this interactive in the future, so please write a comment, subscribe to this channel, and we hear us in the next episode. Bye.